the leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old.
I read The Hobbit when I was 11 years old, and then I was in a stage production when I was probably 13 to play an elf.
So you played a different race.
I did. I
of
played an
Middle-earth.
elf, and there wasn't a big budget for the show, so Gollum was made of paper, and the dragon, they didn't have anything for the dragon, so he was just a red light and a puff of smoke and a voice off stage on a microphone. I loved it. It was a great show, and then that led me to read Lord of the Rings, and then of course Peter Jackson made the trilogy, and then here I am as part of his Hobbit trilogy, which is thrilling.
What about Tolkien's writing do you find most interesting?
I think the most interesting thing for me is that people think of this genre as fantasy. Actually, I find, and I think Tolkien stated it himself, that he preferred legend. He wanted it to feel like real history, like it had really happened of this world, but just of another time.
So let's talk about playing Thorin Oakenshield, the leader of the dwarves. How did you approach a role of such complexity?
I tried to work out who he was as a young prince. He has a sort of two-pronged path of vengeance. One is towards Azog, and the other is towards the horror that lays in that mountain. And I think that horror is so great on him. I don't think he even begins to imagine that he could defeat this dragon. He's just going to take his dwarves there, get them in the door, and then figure it out.
Work, Scouts! Which means an orc pack is not far behind.
Orc pack.
Who did you tell about your quest beyond your kin?
No one.
Who did you tell? No one, I swear. What in Dirty's name is going on? You are being hunted.
Is it true that you based Thorin in part on the director, Peter Jackson himself?
You know, because I didn't really know Peter at the beginning, to say that I based the character on him is probably not true, but as we were filming, I became inspired by Peter and the way that he leads. I let that idea wash over me and used it for Thorin.
So let's talk about the look of Thorin. Did you use your own beard?
Initially, in the first block, it was a fake beard, but then we stood down for a while because Peter wasn't well. And I realized as well that I could grow the same beard in the length of time. It was about 8 weeks, so I had to go at growing it, and it pretty much came out the same color as the beard that they'd made for me, which is ironic.
Did you have eyebrow prosthetics and hair extensions?
Yeah, I had a nose, forehead. The eyebrow comes in right to the crease of the eye with glue. I pretty much finished the shoot with very few eyebrows left, because every day you take them off, you just lose a few more.
Thorin carries the Orcrist sword with the elven blade. Talk
Yeah.
about the movement training you had to do to be able to wield all of those gracefully.
Well, each actor had a specific training program developed for them according to which weapons they were going to use. Initially, I start with a broadsword, but we decided that the broadsword and Orcrist would probably work in the same way, but Orcrist is a much longer sword and it's got a curved blade.
But at certain points in filming, because of the high frame rate, you're using actual blades, correct?
A mixture of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we had the full blade, which was a slightly lighter weight version, an aluminium version.
So going into production, did you know that it would eventually become 3 films?
I didn't for 1 minute think that he would expand it into 3 films. I thought that it would probably end in a director's cut, an extended edition DVD. You know, the one thing about putting it into 3 films is that it gives these characters space to breathe and develop. And actually, when you watch the first film, it is absolutely jam-packed. There is no room for anything else, and there is certainly no padding. So everyone's fears about this story being stretched into too much screen time, I think, is unfounded.
We will seize this chance to take back Erebor!